of the practice period. This is our Shuso, and there's an ordination. Shuke Tokido ordination tomorrow morning, but I was going to make a joke. I won't do that. And there's a new temple. So then I thought, oh, I wanted to say hi to the people. Is that where the Zoom people up there? Where are they? Hi, Zoom people. Zoom people often get ignored, and it feels really important to acknowledge those that are here in that way. So it seems to me, the question always is, but in this particular time of so many things happening, delightful, wonderful, and in a time in the world where we know there's very difficult things happening even as we sit here, and will continue to happen. What are we really doing here? So I was really pleased and happy that in this practice period you all are studying a particular commentary by Thich Nhat Hanh on the Vimalakirti, or the Vimalakirindrisa and the Ugrapara Pracha Sutra. I found that book a few years ago, and I've been wanting to study it ever since. Like, good find. But it's about the Bodhisattva path, because in the most fundamental way, that's the way I give language to and express what we're doing here. But then what is this? I mean, you're going to spend a practice. I'm going to answer all the questions, and then you can. That's a joke. So I think first I want to bring up, and I'll bring up little bits and pieces throughout this talk, is there's this question of the path of a committed layperson, and then there's this path of the priest, because that's what's happening tomorrow. And so what is it? What are these things, and what's the difference, and is there a difference? Some of you know this story, some of you don't. When I was ordained, Norman Fisher ordained me. And I actually never wanted to be ordained. He kind of tricked me, but it was very kind. I'm glad but he said it was a lay ordination. It's the very beginning of everyday Zen, and the whole Zen world was kind of a Twitter with, is Norman Fisher doing this weird new thing, or what's he up to? And what he said was, we are all lay people practicing in the world. Some of us go into monasteries for short periods of time, Tassajara, as Raisula will do, but we are lay people practicing in the world. And there were 3 points. It was why I decided I could do this, and it's what I tell every person along the way, and it's good, I've said it to Raisula, but I'll say it again and again and again, because what Norman said was the 3 things. And this isn't just for priests. I mean, how could it be? But I think it's particular to priests because one of the reasons, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I will. One of the reasons I didn't want to get ordained, because I grew up at San Francisco Zen Center, is it looked like priests were special. and I did not want to be special. That was not what I wanted to be. I spent my whole life just trying to be here with everybody. I mean, that's kind of my path and my car. I just want to be here. So Norman, what he said is humility. Humility has the same root word as humus. I'm a gardener. Like earth. Come down to earth. Stay here. Feet on the ground. Being of service. And seeing each person as Buddha. I thought, okay, I can spend the rest of my life doing that. And I probably have spent lifetimes before, if there is such a thing, and I'll spend lifetimes after. This is my vow. This is how I want to live. And if putting on these robes that are more visible, if I can do it with humility and a sense of service and a sense of only a Buddha and a Buddha, which is all beings and everything, then okay. So that's part of what we'll be doing tomorrow. But to carry on a little bit, Vimalakirti is a very famous layperson. We studied the Vimalakirti Sutra in the Sangha that I come from, who knows what direction it is. There's a commentary by Joan Sutherland. It's a little book, but it's nice because, I mean, one, I think there's a lot of wisdom in it, and two, it's nice to have a commentary by a woman. And Thich Nhat Hanh is amazing, but I want to tell you a couple things that Joan Sutherland said. Well, first she begins, as the sutra does, in describing, it's kind of it's one of those amazing sutras. Zen Buddhism has these kind of amazing, blow your mind things. Is Vimalakirti is sick and he's in his bed in a 10 by 10 room, not very big, and 32,000 people and beings and bodhisattvas fit into it. So it's like, what are we talking about and what realm are we in? And how do we reconcile the particular of this body and this karma and this life with the vastness and the mystery and the wondrousness of this universe? Vimalakirti, I'm not going to go on about, don't worry, I'm not going to wreck your talks, but I wanted to do this. Vimalakirti is one of the most famous things he says is, I am sick because the whole world is sick. I am sick because the whole world is sick. It's not like, oh, what's wrong with me? Oh, it's just, here I am. This is causes and conditions, and we know the whole world, that's the good news in this bad time, is, in case you hadn't noticed before, there's a lot of suffering and troubles and aches and pains and beyond. And the reason I wanted to bring this forward is Joan Sutherland talks about, instead of enlightenment, she talks about endarkenment. That this sutra and practice is about the heart that breaks open to love and is at ease with uncertainty and complexity and the unknown and rests in the mystery of birth and death. Which is really, that's the bodhisattva path. That's what we do. Bodhisattvas just vow to be here. Here I am. Yes, I will, but I'll say more about that in a minute. That in this Saha world, the world of endurance, it can be transformed through vow and through practice and through the path into, her words are appreciation and even welcome. I would say gratitude. and the awareness of our shared humanity and that we're all in this together. You know, these times we're pretty sure, I mean, I raise my hand, is we're over here and they're over there, and there's the right good guys and the bad guys, and I mean, that's one way to look at this, but what if we're all in this together? She says, how is your room and your life big enough to hold it all? Isn't that nice? How is your room, your life, your heart, your mind big enough to hold it all? That's called continuous practice. So now I want to read you, most of you probably know Suzuki Roshi's new book, Becoming Yourself, Teachings on the Zen Way of Life. Suzuki Roshi is the founder of this particular lineage. And I want to tell you this story because I think it's funny and I think it's illuminating. And one of the things I love about Suzuki Roshi is, especially if you read his unedited talks, he laughs a lot. They leave in laughs in parentheses. He says something and then he laughs, parentheses. So, and so how is it in this suffering world of sorrow and this mystery, and that the whole world is sick and in darkenment and enlightenment? What is this laughter in the midst of it? A sense of, I think, love and joy. But let me just read you this story. It's in a chapter called, Ethics Are Our Nature. Vows are our nature. Goodness is our nature. Waking up with all beings is our nature. It's inherent. We're hardwired. It's just, we forget a lot. But that's what this story is about. When Oka Sotan Roshi was a young boy, his teacher, Token Metsu Roshi, told him to go buy tofu for the monastery meal. Senzos might have some insight into this. On the way to the store, he saw posters advertising an acrobatic theater, and he looked at the pictures for a long time without realizing how much time was passing. Then he heard his temple's lunch bell. He was supposed to have been back already with the tofu for the meal, so he dashed to the store. Anybody here distractible? Does this resonate with anyone here? I'm going to do it. I'm really going to do it. And like, oh, okay, over there. Give me the tofu, he said to the shopkeeper. As soon as the shopkeeper gave it to him, he dashed back toward the temple. And on the way, he realized he had left his hat in the store. So he ran back and he said, give me, give me, give me. And the shopkeeper said, give me what? No, give you what? Give you what? And the boy said again, gimme. His mind was so busy that the word hat wouldn't even come out, and all he could say was, gimme, gimme, gimme. And the shopkeeper said again, give you what? What? And finally the boy was able to say, my hat, my hat. And the shopkeeper said, what is the matter with you? Your hat is on your head. This is a very reassuring story, right? The next time this happens to you. So the boy dashed back again to his temple with his hat on his head, and that was the story. Suzuki is talking about the precepts, but I think waking up in life is a lot like this. They're always on our head, our goodness, our vows, our living deeply, our deepest intention. It's always here. We always, like him, always have our hats on our heads. And when we know that, and that's part of, I think, vowing and ritual, and also, I think, part of maybe long sesshins like this, or sort of long sesshins like this, is we begin to sense there's something going on in the world and inside of us that's already here, and that we're just waking up to it little by little, and that we're simultaneously kind of these crazy people who forget that we have hats on our heads and we're running around saying, give me that, no, don't give me that, but there's also it's already here. And the world that we are imagining into existence is already here. And that's really, really important, because that's what bodhisattvas know. Does this make any sense at all? A little bit? Maybe. That's why Razel is, I don't know why Razel is doing this, but yeah. But I think there's some deep impulse to actualize our deepest heart, and we all do it differently. And sometimes we do it as lay people, and sometimes we do it as priests. It's just karmic. There's no hierarchy here. It's just some people want to. Some people, I say to people, I have all this stuff because I need it. You know, some people just all these things help me remember how I want to live, and the rituals and the forms. And other people seem to be able to do it in another way or another tradition. Or, but what Suzuki Roshi says is, even though Oka Roshi was scolded when he got back to the temple, he was a good boy. There is no need to wonder about that point. And sometimes we forget that we are wearing our hats. That's all. We're all hard to believe, but basic goodness. And we forget. And sometimes we forget a lot, and sometimes we forget a little. And we're in a period of time where there's a lot of forgetting. And I think this kind of life, and sitting, and temples, and taking vows, I think there's a we got born at just the right time. Bodhisattvas would just say, okay, here I am. Wow. With humility, how can I be of service, and how can I practice moment after moment, seeing each person as Buddha, to just help ground this whole thing. And we'll keep helping each other. And that's what we're doing in the ceremony tomorrow, is we're helping Razel, and Razel is helping us, and all the ancestors across time and space. And it's special, and it's nothing special at all. It's just, so that's where I want to go next with this. So I thought, do I have to stop at any particular time? No, I can go for hours. Don't worry about a thing. No. But I am watching time. I've been really struck. Maybe the guests who came in. There's a little kind of kaisando of ancestors out there in the hallway. I was so surprised to see who was on it. That Katagiri Roshi is there, and Blanche Hartman is there, and Suzuki Roshi is there, and Dogen is there. It's an interesting.
Partly because we can't. I couldn't find some of the other ones.
Oh. Well, anyway, that's where we're going, because they just keep greeting me, and when they're there, they talk to you. I mean, if you listen, the ancestors are, you may think they're dead, and the ancestors, and they're back there, but if you really listen, they're singing. They're singing through the forms. They're talking to us through the care that's gone into this temple. So I thought I would bring forward, to help us, little things from each one of them. And then when you go out and you come in, maybe you'll know them a little bit better, or who knows. Katagiri Roshi. About living in vow. Do you know his verse, his poem? Even if you know it, we'll do it again. Katagiri Roshi says, being told that it is impossible, one believes in despair. Is that so? Being told that it is possible, one believes in excitement. That's right. I can do this. Yeah. But whichever is chosen, it does not fit one's heart neatly. Being asked what is unfitting, being asked what is unfitting, I don't know what it is, but my heart knows somehow. I feel an irresistible desire to know what a mystery human is. As to this mystery, clarifying, knowing how to live, knowing how to walk with people, demonstrating and teaching, this is the Buddha. From my human eyes, I feel it's really impossible to become a Buddha, to live and walk this bodhisattva path. But this I, regarding what the Buddha does, vows to practice, to aspire, to be resolute, and tells myself, yes, I will. Just practice right here, now, and achieve continuity endlessly forever. This is living in vow. Here is one's peaceful life found. That's what Katagiri Roshi, he left us many things, but he left us that. And it's the whole of the path. Just keep aspiring, be resolute, say moment after moment, yes I will, and just practice right here and now forever. So Blanche Hartman, I found a little essay by her called Living a Life of Vow, where she comments on Katagiri Roshi's talk. I had fun. The life of vowing. She says, this is the road taken by those who choose a life devoted to practice. This path may be taken by householders as well as home leavers. There is Zaiki Tokido, remaining at home and attaining the way. Lay the blue. If you take formal vows, I mean, we're all color coded. I'm doing this for the people who don't know the color codes. But basically, it's clear that your life is at home, and it's in your family, and it's in your work, and it's just everyday life. Shuke Tokido is called leaving home and attaining the way. But the question, as Norman Fisher posed, is, but nobody's leaving home, but there's a way that priest vows ask us to leave home inside our hearts and our minds, because there's a kind of responsibility that you take on for the lineage and for this tradition that is both wonderful and can be a burden. People, and somebody's got to do it. When Suzuki Roshi suggested to my teacher, Sojin Mel Weissman Roshi, that he be ordained, Sojin said, "What is a priest?" And Suzuki Roshi said, "I don't know." Sojin then went to the other teacher at Zen Center, Katagiri Roshi, and said, "Suzuki Roshi wants me to be a priest. What's a priest?" And Katagiri Roshi said, I don't know. Sojin says, "I still don't know what a priest is, and I hope I never do." And then Blanche goes on to say, it's a faith that all beings have the wisdom and compassion of the awakened ones, and because of their attachments and delusions, they don't realize it. But that's all of us. And Ken said this morning. Blanche repeats, as Suzuki Roshi said the first time I heard him lecture, "You're perfect just as you are, and there's always room for improvement. Zen is about making your best effort on each moment." That's all. Forever. Whatever your vow, whatever your color code is, this is just it. Just, here I am. How can I be of help? What's happening in this body? What's happening in this mind? Here I am. Okay, so. Dogen. I was going to say something about the Genjo koan, but will just note that I was going to say something about the Genjo koan for you. But I want to say just that Dogen wrote for lay people. Many of his things were written for the monastic community. But he wrote that for one particular lay person. And the one that's most known that Dogen wrote for lay people is the Four Methods of Guidance for a Bodhisattva. I think these all say the same thing. Giving. Give yourself to others and others to others. Generosity. Open-handedness, open-heartedness. How can I be of help? 2, here's one for our time. Kind speech. Well, for any time. Dogen says, when you see someone, ask, how are you? Try to generate actual concern. Kind speech, Dogen says, means that when you see sentient beings, you arouse the heart of compassion and offer words of loving care. It is contrary to cruel or violent speech, and he says it can turn the destiny of a nation. Kind speech. 3, beneficial action. To have beneficial action, we must benefit all classes of sentient beings, which is to care about their distant and near future and to help them, to be of service by using skillful means. Which means human beings, the ones we like, the ones we don't like, the air, the soil, the water, the rocks, the furry ones. How can I be of help? And 4, identity action, which Dogen defines as non-difference from self and others, seeing each person as Buddha. Matching your deeds with your words and walking the walk and aligning your conduct with your best intentions. The recognition that here and now is the world. It includes everything across time and space. And that if that's true, every action of body, speech, and mind has profound consequences across time and space. So pay attention. That's why we do these crazy things like build temples. That's why we sit seshins, which aren't easy. That's why we do this vowing practice, is to wake up, to be who we truly are, and to be able to extend ourselves. Suzuki Roshi said, the Buddhist way is, in one word, compassion. This means to encourage people when they are feeling positive and also to help them get rid of their suffering. That is true love. It is not just to give something or to receive something or to observe precepts or to think you're a priest or a lay person or whatever we might think is going on or not going on. We practice our way with things as they naturally occur, going with people, suffering with them, helping to relieve their suffering, and encouraging them to go on and yawn. We practice our way with things as they naturally occur, going with people, suffering with them, helping to relieve their suffering, and encouraging them to go on and on. Here I am, moment after moment. Here I am. We got to aid a hunger strike in Sonoma County with the Sanctuary Coalition, which was just so much that. Just like, here I am. How can I be of help? There's 100 million thousand different ways to do this each moment. Pay attention. Ask. That's the Bodhisattva way. Maybe you know this from Suzuki Roshi. One way he's quoted is, "There's nowhere to go, it's raining everywhere." You don't have to go to some foreign land or just pay attention to who's next to you. And here he's quoted saying, "If you walk through the fog, your clothes will become wet. Without you making any effort or being conscious of it, they quite naturally become wet." It's our true nature, and I think that's what we practice in Sangha. And it's why Thich Nhat Hanh said he thought in this time that taking refuge in Buddha is that it's taking refuge in Sangha, taking refuge in community, taking refuge in each other. We just walk together and help each other, and something happens that's not something, but something does happen. And I think that's rather remarkable. So I want to, two things to close. Just because I love it, and just to be a little bit specific. This is by Zenju Earthling Manuel. I thought Marianne is so enchanted by maybe everybody is, by the statue on the altar. And it's not Zenju, but it makes me think of her. Right now she's being the visiting teacher at Green Gulch. I co-lead, co-facilitate a racial and social justice as Dharma practice group, and we meet once a month and we chant this every time. And it's based on the Metta Sutta, the Loving Kindness Sutta, for all beings. May all beings be cared for and loved, be listened to, understood, and acknowledged, despite different views. Be accepted for who they are in this moment. Be afforded patience. Be allowed to live without fear of having their lives taken away or their bodies violated. May all beings be well in its broadest sense. Be fed, be clothed, be breathed as if their life is precious. Be treated as if their life is precious. Be held in the eyes of each other as family. May all beings be appreciated. Feel welcomed anywhere on the planet. Be freed from acts of hatred and desperation, including war, poverty, slavery, and street crimes. Live on the planet housed and protected from harm. Be given what is needed to live fully without scarcity. Enjoy life, speaking without fear of one another. Be able to speak freely in a voice and mind of undeniable love. May all beings be awake. Yes, I will. And I want to read you just because I like it, and maybe it'll encourage you as a Sangha. This Sangha in California in Sonoma County, Soto Zen Buddhist Association did a statement at the time of these really difficult times about just intention as Buddhists and practitioners that we had been using. And then it felt to me like we need as a Sangha to find language to say, what's our heart? What's our intention? What is this bodhisattva vow? How do we live it? You'll be exploring that, I would imagine, in this period of time. So I'm just going to read you. What I love about this is it's called a living statement. It's alive. So it can change and move, and it's alive in each one of us, because it's like the Buddha, the Buddhist teachings is, Buddhism is, this thing we call Buddhism and these things that we read it's just words. It's dead unless it comes alive through each one of us and each Sangha and each heart. So I'll just read you this, and you'll see. It's so important to find out your own language and your own heart and what's true for you, and everybody's going to do it different. but the question of what is the bodhisattva path? What does a bodhisattva do? What are we doing anyway? Go talk to Katagiri Roshi out there and Blanche and see what they have to say, and Tim, and talk to the person next to you. But this is what this particular song I had to say. As we navigate the suffering of our times, we recognize that it is essential to continually renew our bodhisattva vows, remembering that all Buddhism is engaged Buddhism and all of life is the Buddha body. As such, our practice calls us to fiercely cultivate our ability to witness the cries of the world and to respond with care. Turning towards one another, bearing witness becomes a vehicle for deeply knowing our interdependence. Responding from the heart of compassion, the illusion of separation is transformed into true solidarity. In Sangha, we endeavor to create conditions where all beings can flourish in practice. Look what you've created. Aware of the suffering caused by othering and polarization, we seek to strengthen the threads that weave us together, to become a sanctuary of understanding and a refuge for all hearts and bodies. May it be so. Together we honor the wisdom of diversity and strive to actualize a path of empathy and dialogue. With responsibility for the lineage and teachings of our Soto Zen ancestors, we come together as a community committed to approaching each encounter with the openness and curiosity of beginner's mind. We commit to fostering a community where every voice is cherished, where fear is met with understanding, and where compassion is a living expression of our vows. We invite all beings to gather under the broad canopy of protection and peace, and with open hearts and minds we stand together as guardians of compassion, pledging to respond with grace in the face of adversity. In our collective practice, may we illuminate the Buddha field of protective care. We realize enlightenment not as some good feeling or a particular state of mind, but as continuous practice here in this world. Our work towards refuge and liberation is likewise not a destination, but a living expression of our bodhisattva vow. So that, in this moment, is when I ask, so what are we really doing here? You know, what are these pieces of cloth and this ritual and the practice period, and what's alive in your heart? I'm so happy they have you to lead with the humility and grace and just the truth of your own life and how you've transformed suffering and that you're now enlightened. No, that's a joke. You said something really great about me, that there was a point where you were perfect. He also has a good sense of humor. So I think my talk was meant to be a kind of warm-up for ordination, which I hope it is, but I think it's also a warm-up, hopefully, for each moment and for all of us. Humility, being of service, and seeing each person as Buddha. It's like, I mean, perfect, whole, and complete. And we'll all keep falling on our faces, and we'll bump into each other, and we'll hurt each other, and then we'll remember kind speech, and that's how we learn in the rock tumbler of this world and this Sangha. But what an amazing thing to be alive and to be able to do this together. So there you go. Okay. May our intentions equally tend to every being and place with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are